Our experiences throughout our lives can leave us with so much mind BS about our worthiness and our relationships. And it can leave us wondering, like, are we even really lovable? And these experiences can leave us with attachment issues that like interfere with our relationships with our families, with our partners, and even with our relationship with ourselves. So today, somatic coach Valerie Rubin is going to show us how to heal an anxious attachment style so that we can become a match for healthy and secure love. It's time to get excited because you can achieve that magical combination of happiness and productivity that you've been craving. That voice that says you can't, or not now, is total mind BS. Tell me about the journey of somebody with an anxious attachment style. How are they feeling and how are they going through life?
I would say someone with an anxious attachment style is someone on the daily basis. They're flustered, they're anxious, they're worried about their relationships, the outcome of their relationships. They're worried when the next shoe is going to drop in their business, in their relationship. They're scared, feeling abandonment. They're always thinking of the worst case scenario. They're overthinking. They're never feeling truly present. And then day to day life, now they're feeling guilty because they're having a hard time being present because they're chronically stuck in this fight or flight state with this anxious attachment style.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be like a feedback loop where like you're anxious about it and then that anxiety makes you more anxious and then you just end up spiraling. And yeah, that sounds really heavy. Absolutely.
Hmm.
All right. So tell me about how did you come to work with people with anxious attachment?
Yes. So I originally started working with clients who had generalized anxiety disorder and just chronic anxiety that wouldn't budge, wouldn't go away with typical methods like talk therapy, medication, even meditation, yoga, diet change, supplements, all the typical things. So clients would come to me. I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm a trauma-informed somatic coach. I utilize somatic healing. We're really getting to the root of this anxiety. And so what I found with clients is the clients who wouldn't see results, they were always either stuck in toxic relationships, stuck in a trauma bond. They were stuck in relationships even when they knew they wanted to leave, but they couldn't get themselves to leave. And so then I discovered more in depth about attachment styles. And so, really, once I started to work with clients on their anxiety and their anxious attachment style, which people who are chronically anxious typically have an anxious attachment style. When we actually worked on where's this chronic anxiety really stemming from, it's from the dynamics we've had with our caregivers, and then that influences our nervous system, that influences who we are attracted to, and then we're stuck in these toxic cycles and toxic relationships. And so, until you heal that, you're going to still feel chronically anxious if your nervous system feels safe with people who are unhealthy, who aren't meeting your needs.
So what does it look like on the other side? So when they've come to you, they're anxious, they've got all of this stuff going on in their heads, and then they start this embodiment practice and they start, seeing things a little bit differently. What do they like? What's the big transformation that they see on the other side of working with you?
Yeah, so I find that the other side of them working together with me, really people who are anxiously attached, they have this core fear wound, this wound that's fearing abandonment. They're always on the edge of their seat. They're having trouble trusting their partner. They're not feeling secure within. Their happiness depends on how their partner's doing, how their partner's day is going. This codependency, these codependent patterns. And so on the other side of that, it's them thinking what I hear constant day in and day out after I work with clients. Even if they do leave, I will be okay. A deeper sense of self-trust, trusting their intuition when they are going into dating. Now they're able to voice their needs and concerns and their feelings instead of keeping it bottled down. They're able to feel confident and secure within themselves, no matter what's happening on the outside. They're able to have and attract healthier relationships without self-sabotaging it. They're able to feel an overarching sense of calm. They're able to sleep better. They're able to feel confident in every area of their life and finally feel like they are in control.
Wow, that's quite the transformation. I'd love to dig deeper on just one of the things that you had said there. You said they feel more able to trust their own intuition. And you mentioned specifically around dating, which is huge, absolutely, but it overflows into so many different areas of our life, so many different decisions and relationships that we made. Can you tell me a little bit more about that process of coming from this place of, I don't know what to do, somebody tell me what to do, into a place of, you know what? I know what my body is saying and I know how to act on that.
That is such a great question. I love how you framed that. And so, really, I would say step four is trusting your intuition and leaning into that. And step one, what the one thing I would have someone do, connect back to their body because your body never lies. And I know if you have complex trauma, maybe you have PTSD, you've experienced a lot of chronic stress. You feel like your body is lying to you and it's always on fire. But when you are able to connect with the sensations in your body, you are able to learn and know exactly how to make yourself feel better because you know how to regulate your own nervous system. Now, when you're in the dating space, you're in the dating world, you're able to connect with your body and sense what actually feels right for you. You're going to be able to see what is my yes, what is my no. And I start clients in with a very simple practice. So if you're open, I'd love to share it.
Oh, yes, please, let's do it.
Fabulous. So this is great if you are a people pleaser, you're chronically anxious, you're very disconnected from your intuition, and you have a hard time trusting yourself or others. So what you want to do is say you're at the space, you're at your desk, maybe you're in your car listening to this episode. I want you to, and you can do this as well, Christina. I want you to look around your space and I want you to find an object that makes you feel, I want to pick that up. This is a yes object for me. I want to pick it up.
I'm going to pick up my kitchen witch candle.
Perfect. So as you're picking up your candle this candle, what did you notice in your body when you picked it up?
I notice that I'm immediately happy and calm and, looking forward to lighting it and smelling it. And usually I have candles when I'm doing something for me and something fun. And so I'm anticipating something good.
So you're noticing these feelings of joy, this calmness, you're anticipating something is good. I'd love to invite you to check in with your body. What in your body, what sensations are you noticing in your body that are telling you this is something I'm looking forward to lighting this candle?
I've never done the body scan in this way. So I'm noticing that I've got like a fluttery in my chest area where it's just like an excitement. I'm noticing that, I'm twitchy, my arms are twitchy. I'm just like kind of wanting to move around.
Hmm. Perfect. So that is you identifying your yes. It feels like excitement. You're smiling. You're looking forward to it. You're feeling this fluttery, like joy in your chest, wanting to like move around. You're excited. So that's your yes. And so how this can translate into the dating world is since now you know what your yes is, now you will have a system to where if someone in the dating world is giving you this feeling, this same feeling, you could be like, this feels like my yes. This feels good to me. This feels joyful. I'm looking forward to meeting up this person on a second date or first date. So I'd love to invite you to now look again at your space and find a no object for you.
Ugh. Hmm. How about, I don't have a lot of no objects in my space. I'm pretty good at this,
Hmm.
but I'm gonna pick up my work laptop.
Okay.
Yeah, and say, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
Hmm. Perfect. So, what are you noticing in your body? What emotions are you noticing coming up for you as you even touched your work laptop?
I notice my body curling forward. I'm like, ugh, I don't, I notice just a sensation of shrinking within myself. like my I know I'm supposed to do my body, but I notice my mind immediately goes to avoidance where it's like, oh, before I do work, maybe I could do something, maybe I could tidy my desk or something, that sort of thing.
Mm. Perfect. So you're noticing that avoidance, wanting to avoid the work laptop, feel like you're gonna like curling up, your body's curling up. You just don't want to go near this work laptop.
Yeah, right now, no.
No. So that's telling you what in your body, this feelings in your body are telling you, this is my no. This isn't a good thing for me. This doesn't feel good. And so when you get connected to this yes and no, now in the dating world, if someone, maybe they might look or sound like they have the right things, but something in your body is telling you no.
Mm.
Your body is giving you this same feeling of curling up, wanting to become small, not wanting to go near it. That is your internal no. As you've identified this, say you go back into your dating life after this information, your sensations in your body are going to be much louder than your overthinking mind. You're going to be able, this is your discernment. You're able to trust your intuition because you're listening to your body.
Love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never thought of it that way. You know, it's one of the things that I find really hard is the concept of listening to your body and what that means. And you've just laid it out in a way that I now know what it means. And it's very, very clear. Yeah, thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
So
you're
I
so
would love
welcome.
to, thank you. I would love to know more about these steps. You alluded to kind of step one. I jumped right to step four. I would love to know
Yes.
what the steps are in your process that you work people through for this.
Yeah, so just clarifying, so you're really asking, what is the steps to go from anxious to
Sure. Yeah.
securely attached?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So step one, getting connected to your body. When we're anxious, we're really up here. So my first step is always, getting to know what are your habits, what in your childhood triggers that you have, your childhood trauma, these base level things that are important so that later we can connect some of these dots. So we're really getting into that. Step two is we are mapping out your nervous system. What does that mean? So we have four different states of our nervous system: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. Fight is our anger response. Flight is running away. This looks like anxiety, OCD-like symptoms. Freeze, which looks like depression, and shutdown. And then fawn, which is codependency and people pleasing. So I first map out how often are you in all of these states, a percentage of the time. Maybe it's 100%. Maybe you tend to go into your anxious flight response 70% of the time, right? So we're mapping out and then also mapping out what triggers these nervous system responses. So really getting clear on that. Then I make a customized toolkit with somatic exercises, nervous system regulation practices for each nervous system state, because different states of the nervous system aren't going to be great for certain tools. So if you're very anxious, if you're about to have a panic attack, you're at 8 to 10 level on anxiety, the last thing you want to do is sit down and meditate. How much do you want to do that? Absolutely not. You're like, bitch, I want to run the fuck away. This is not happening. Okay. I hope swearing is okay in your
Very
podcast.
much good. Do it. Yes.
Okay. Fabulous, Christina. So these are some things that we want to map out. And so every nervous system is different. Everyone responds different. Everyone likes different tools. So for me, I am mapping out and giving suggestions and mapping out specific tools customized to you that I create, for my clients. So we're mapping out what are tools that we can use in fight, flight, freeze, and fawn states. When are we triggered by, what are our triggers? And so now when you're triggered or, your partner's causing you anxiety because he hasn't texted you back in 3 hours, now you can go back to your flight response tools and shift out of that anxiety. Because here's the thing. We can't just shift our mindset magically. The thoughts are a byproduct of our nervous system state. When you are in a freeze response, when you're depressed, your thoughts are going to be reflective of that state. This is going to sound like nothing good ever happens to me. I'm going to be stuck this way. I'm never going to get better. Things won't change, feeling absolutely hopeless and helpless. And like, I'm going to be in this situation forever. The flight, it's going to feel like when you're anxious, it's going to feel like I must experience. There's not enough time. I have way too much to do. I need my partner to text me back to feel good enough. I'm so anxious, et cetera, et cetera. And then we go up the ladder in something called ventral vagal. That means right when we're in a regulated parasympathetic state, we're going to have thoughts like, I am grateful, I am capable, I can do this. Things are always changing. The universe is conspiring in my favor. God is in my favor, whatever resonates with you, whatever, God, source, universe, angels, whatever resonates with you. It's like all your thoughts are a reflection of your nervous system. So I'm going to pause there and then I'll continue. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my first thought is that a lot of our techniques that we are taught is to skip right over the nervous system stuff and go right into gratitude and, positive thinking and all of those things. So, what are your thoughts on that approach?
I think it's a terrible approach. I think literally because no one heals their trauma by thinking positively. And that's such an uncontroversial take. But when that's toxic positivity. We're overriding our nervous system. This is just another form of avoidance. It feels too big. So we have to say, oh, this isn't so bad. Like we're, you know, it's not helpful to your nervous system. That's just actually keeping you stuck. That's literally keeping you stuck. And you're just repeating the same pattern that your emotionally unavailable parent did to you.
Yeah, because you're becoming emotionally unavailable to yourself and you're bypassing your needs and minimizing your needs. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Agreed. Love that approach. All right.
Period. Period.
Okay. So step one and step two sounds just transformative on their own. So tell me
Mhm.
more. What's step three?
Yes, step 3 is body connection. When we are very anxious, we are up here in the mind. So we need to connect back to our body. So some of these things that I like to do is somatic exercises because we can't think our way out of our anxiety. We have to be connected to our body enough to do that. So I'd love to even show you some here. Well, how would that sound?
Oh, I would love that so much. Yes, please.
Great. So why don't we start by even starting from our shoulders down to our elbows, just rubbing our arms up and down, noticing how this feels for you. Just notice if any sensations come up here. As you're doing this, this helps your cortisol levels, helps reduce stress. Touch really helps physiologically and it helps you to improve oxytocin, increase oxytocin levels. And so when we're doing it on our own, it stimulates that same response.
Yeah, it makes me just feel sort of calm and at ease.
Mhm. Mhm. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, just noticing that. And then, yeah, what are you noticing now in your body? Do you notice any shifts at all?
I noticed that I think when I was talking to you, I was starting to sort of clench up my shoulders and lean in a little
Mm.
bit. And now I'm feeling like my shoulders are relaxed. And so it's shifted into a much more relaxed state.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And know that, we never told you, oh, you have to think your way out of it, right?
Yeah, you didn't. You didn't
Right,
say
right.
anything about my shoulders or anything. It was just,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome. So another thing that we'll do if you're sitting on, behind a chair or you're laying on your bed or maybe you're in your car listening to this, if you're in your car, don't do this with your eyes closed. But if it feels safe for you, Christina, you can go ahead and close your eyes if that feels okay.
Okay.
So So as you're sitting in your chair, I want you to just notice how your back feels against the chair. Noticing your back feeling supported by the chair. Can you notice your hips and your legs supported by the seat that you're sitting on? Can you notice your feet planted, grounded on the floor if they're on the floor? Feeling them planted on the earth? Can you notice the texture of your clothes and what they feel like against your skin? Maybe they're smooth. Maybe there's a tag that's irritating you. Notice what that feels like against your body. Whenever you're ready, you can just wiggle your fingers and toes, coming back to your body. And slowly coming back to the room around you, you can gently open your eyes if you haven't done so already. Just notice if your body has done any shifts.
Hmm. For me, my body has done a little shift because when you first said, notice your back, I have a little pain in my back. And so I was noticing the pain. But then when you were saying, notice your back being supported against the chair, I started noticing that contact and connection. And I'm realizing now that I don't have that pain anymore. And so that was it's kind of interesting. Um, yeah, that's the biggest shift I noticed.
Amazing. Yeah, so these are just a few of some of those exercises that I do with clients in that in that session because it's very important to be connected to your body. A lot of the time we're in fight or flight, we're on autopilot. We're not even recognizing where our back is in space. We're not noticing how our clothes feel on our skin. So when we're very disconnected, when we can connect back, that's when we start to feel grounded and calm from our body rather than just trying to think ourselves a new thought or think our way out of it.
I especially love that because it's a lot simpler than some of the other techniques that I have been taught. Like one of the ones was like find, one thing you can smell and two things you can hear and three things you can see or whatever. And I'm like trying to remember, I'm like, am I supposed to find three things that I can see? What kind of, you know what I mean? And it's like my brain's not working at the time. So I love that this is just super simple. I can just sit here and sort of pet myself, hug myself, love myself, and move into a much calmer state.
Yes, absolutely. And notice your language there. You were saying, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. I'm pretty sure that's what you're describing, right?
Probably, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So that technique is not made for anxiety. A lot of
Oh,
therapists and people are told that do this when you're anxious. That's the last thing that you probably want to do. As you mentioned, my mind's not working right. I'm not even remember if you said 5 things, 4 things, 2 things. This is too much, right? I'm more overwhelmed. Versus that is actually made for the freeze response. When you're depressed, when you're dissociated, when you're disconnected from your body, that's when it could be helpful to notice what are 5 things around me? What are 4 things I can touch? 3 things I can hear? 2 things I can smell? And 1 thing I can taste. That's helpful when we're disconnected, dissociated. So that'll help us when we're in a depressed state. We don't want to use that when we're in our anxious flight state. So this is why having a trauma-informed person or a somatic coach who's really nervous system informed and know how to help you out of these states.
yeah, wow. Okay. So I've been doing that completely wrong. And I'm so glad to know that I'm not crazy and that, it wasn't working for me because I was not in the right frame of mind. I wasn't using it appropriately. All right, on
Mhm.
to step 4.
Yes. On to step 4. So we talked a little bit about being able to trust your intuition. That has to do with first healing that fawn response. Some people who are anxiously attached are people pleasers, some aren't, but majority of the time they are. So what we want to do, a lot of the time with people pleasers, They struggle with saying no. They struggle identifying their needs. They struggle with, that fear of abandonment. They're doing this people pleasing because they are scared that they're not good enough and people are going to leave them. So let's just start with the fear of saying no. How would it feel to invite you, Christina, to do an exercise with me?
Oh boy, I'm learning so much this episode. Yes, let's do it.
Fabulous. So, if you are listening to this and you struggle with saying no and you're scared to tell your partner no, you're scared to tell your boss no, whomever. So, Christina, what you're going to first do is you're going to start with your hands outward. And you're going to inhale and you're going to bring your hands to your chest as you're inhaling. As you exhale, you're going to bring out your hands and say no.
No,
Do that a few more times at your own pace.
no. I feel like a karate person.
Yes.
No. Ooh, feels
Mm.
so powerful.
Mm. What are you noticing in your body after doing that exercise?
I'm noticing like a heightened something, a heightened response, a heightened like I'm feeling louder, I'm sitting up straighter, I'm ready to assert myself.
Yes, amazing. See how much that really gives you such an empowering stance when we can do it with our body. That helps us to really get out of this people-pleasing state. And this is huge because most of my clients come to me and they're very stuck in their fawn response. And it's so automatic, even, especially as women, if you're listening to this, it's so common for women and moms to just, make dinner for everyone before yourself, cook and clean and put your needs last. It's so common if you're taught that as just a woman in general. And so when you can learn to say no and assert yourself in that way, you become powerful. You now will repel anyone who is a narcissist or someone toxic or emotionally unavailable, because people who are emotionally unavailable or toxic or narcissistic, they will push your boundaries. They will not like it when you say no. So this puts you in such an empowering state and a better way for you to be able to call in healthier, more deeply fulfilling, secure relationships.
Yes, please. That sounds amazing. My goodness, just that simple exercise. And I do feel more ready, more heightened energy, more, I don't know what people say the words raise your vibration. I feel like I've raised my vibration.
Yes, I'm living for that, Christina. Yes.
Awesome.
So living for that. Amazing. So and then I really do a whole, hour and a half on different exercises like that one to help you get out of that fawn response, because people also say, oh, people pleasing is manipulative. People pleasing is a choice. That's bullshit to your nervous system. Let me just say that. When a tiger comes close to you or a tiger comes near you, someone's body response might be, instead of running away, they try to be nice to it because they're scared. They don't want this animal to hurt them. And if you've had a partner who's an addict or a parent who's an addict, or you've had a narcissistic parent and fighting wasn't an option, fleeing, you couldn't run away when you were 6, freezing wasn't an option, becoming helpful and fawning, that was a way that you survived and maintained that connection with your parent. So it's a completely unconscious state that we're operating from. It's a way that our nervous system has learned to protect us. And so that is really step 4. And then, step 5 through 8 is identifying our protector parts. So people pleasing is one of them. So I'll just use an example here. We have our inner child who's experienced neglect, trauma. We are felt with feelings of loneliness, shame, not good enough, not important, I don't matter. So we have this inner child who's young, who's vulnerable. Now, because our needs weren't met, or we've had emotionally unavailable parents or a parent, we develop coping strategies to keep that connection to our parent. We develop coping strategies in order to not feel all of these feelings that this little girl or little boy is stuck with. So we then develop strategies like people pleasing, procrastination, perfectionism, anxiety, all of these different protector parts. Yeah, being the good girl, the chill girl who doesn't speak her needs or his needs, all of these protector parts, even addiction, that's more of a firefighter, as I like to call it. So going into firefighters, these are things that another protector part, I'm going kind of all over the place, but another protector part, binge eating, emotional eating. Then we have firefighters. So if a big wound, big trigger has been exposed or your shame is up to the surface, it feels really big, it feels too much. Now we're going into firefighters, addiction. This could look like, anorexia, bulimia. This can look like panic attacks. This could look like suicidal ideation or suicide if we're talking about it from a IFS, internal family systems perspective. So we really map out what are your protector parts and how often are we in them? How often are these showing up for you in your day-to-day life? What are these triggers that trigger it? So then we really pick out what are the biggest ones that are really impacting your life, and we start to work on those. Those protector parts are fulfilling a need. It's protecting you from feeling these deeper feelings. So when we can heal this younger part of you that came up with this protection mechanism, now you're not going to go into your day-to-day life and feel as stuck. You're not going to go to these same protective mechanisms because now your inner child feels healed and your inner child feels good enough as they are. So you won't feel the need to utilize these perfectionistic parts, for example. So that's step number 5. I'll pause here. What are
Okay.
your thoughts?
Well, it sounds like a lot. How long does it normally take somebody to go through all these 5 steps?
So, well, this 5th step, this can usually go 1 to 2 weeks, and sometimes they'll kick on if you're triggered or something big is coming up in your life. And you might have to do multiple sessions on these. And it's really when you're becoming more into your authentic self, that's when it can kick on more because it can feel scary when you're in the unknown. But ultimately, to answer your question, in one session, we can work on this protector part and we can integrate it and heal this younger version of you that felt you needed to use this or else you're going to die. Usually that's what happens is they tell me, oh, this part saved my life. This part saved me from my abusive childhood. This part kept me alive. This protected me. This keeps me safe. So imagine taking that away, taking that cigarette, taking that emotional eating away when that's the one thing is keeping you afloat. So we're really giving compassion to this part as well and thanking this part for showing up for us in this way.
Yeah, absolutely. There are no bad parts.
Correct.
Okay, so if people want a little taste of what you can offer and want to get started today on this journey, do you have anything that can help them out with that?
I just dropped a new freebie. It's an EFT tapping meditation to heal your fear of abandonment. And that's really at the core of someone's anxious attachment style. So, and that's been really, really helpful. I've had great results with it. People have cried their eyes out. They described it as this is everything I've needed to hear. And this will help you to heal your fear of abandonment.
Fantastic. And so I'm going to drop that link in the description below so that you can get that right away and get started on your journey right away. And if people want to find more of you, where can they go look to find more?
Yes, on Instagram is a lot of where I hang out. My handle is Heal with Val, HEAL with VAL. Or they can find my podcast as well. I have my own podcast called the Anxiety Recovery Podcast, where we're diving deep into trauma, relationships, healing your anxious attachment style, and overcoming anxiety. And I have guest experts on my show every single week. It's like getting free therapy every single Thursday. I'd love to have you there.
I actually like the word guestperts. I think we should claim that and use that. My
I'd love
guestpert
that.
today is Valerie Rubin, and she has been
Yes.
awesome.
Yes. Thank
Very cool.
you, Christina.
Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today, sharing this expertise, all these cool tips and tricks. Before we sign off today, are there any last words you want to leave our audience with?
What a fabulous question. I would say that you are not alone and you make sense. All of these parts, your anxious attachment style isn't you. That's not who you truly are. These anxieties, these anxious attachment behaviors, none of it is who you truly are. What you have to do is unblock all these things that are blocking you from knowing your truth, that you are lovable and worthy. Don't identify with I'm anxious. I'm an anxious person. I'm anxiously attached. It's just feelings. And this is something that you can overcome and you're not stuck with forever.
Beautiful words. Well spoken. Thank you so much for being here, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Hit subscribe and let's see if we can make life balance the norm.